Shop Talk Live, episode number 186. Today, Anissa, Mike, and myself sit down and discuss sticky Camellia oil, one listener's dream shop tool layout, dealing with broken toys on your workbench, and Mike bursts my Unifence bubble. But first, as always, I'm going to promote something from finewoodworking.com because this free podcast is not paying the bills. Finewoodworking.com and the unlimited membership is paying the bills. If you enjoy this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you think seriously about an unlimited membership. I want to talk about one aspect of the unlimited membership, the video workshops. And shout out to my buddy Steve, who just finished building for his father a North Bennett Street tool chest. And it turned out incredibly well. And a lot of that has to do with Matt Wade's video workshop. Even if you're not interested in building a North Bennett Street tool chest, I can guarantee you're going to get something out of watching Matt's video workshop. Matt Wade is as good of a woodworking educator as you're ever going to find. I don't think I've ever been around anyone who conveys the subject and their passion for the subject better than Matt Wade. And I've said it before, people, I don't hang out with a bunch of hacks. So head on over to finewoodworking.com, sign up for that unlimited membership, and watch Matt Wade's video workshop. It really is a phenomenal video, and Matt is a phenomenal teacher. So enough about that. Sign up for a Fine Woodworking Unlimited membership or get a Fine Woodworking subscription and get Fine Woodworking magazine delivered to your mailbox. That's the best way of showing your support to our little podcast here. All right, Shop Talk Live 186, go. I am here with Mike Pekovich.
Hey, guys.
And I'm here with Anissa Capsalis.
Hi.
Jeff Rose, of course.
Hey, Jeff.
Hello.
Jeff, how you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I may hack up a lung here, but you know.
Last podcast, it sounded like somebody was dying in the hallway.
He was stealthy on his way out to the hallway,
really
though.
was.
It was really impressive.
Yeah, poor Jeff.
Well, you should hear Robin. She's even worse.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be sadder. Well, I don't know why it'd be sadder that your wife is sick, but
It is.
Yeah.
My cat snores.
My cat smells.
What? So your cat snores always?
Yeah.
Oh.
She was a rescue cat, so we thought, oh, she has this like horrible lung disease that they get in the rescue shelters. And that, oh, no, this is terrible. We took her to the doctor. No, your cat snores. It's like, really?
She has sleep apnea. She
does.
doesn't have a cold.
We'll see that.
And sometimes if she's just like sitting and concentrating, just staring out the window, she'll just start to like snore as she's with her eyes open. And that's like really freaky.
So we need video of this.
Okay.
Or an audio sample. We can end the podcast. That could be the little thing
All
at
right.
the end.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Can animals sleepwalk?
Chickens sleep with half their brains. Because
Chickens don't have much of a brain to begin with.
Because if all the chickens are on the roost, all the center chickens can sleep, but the ones on the outside, they'll only sleep with the brain toward the inside, and their outside eye will be open, and the inside will be closed.
No, I'm not buying this.
No, this is true. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He gets that look, that little...
The evil look.
Yeah, well, it's not quite evil. It's kind of like my son gets when he's doing something he's not supposed to.
That's evil. You just haven't admitted it yet.
Maybe.
I might be mistaken, but I'm not
Intentionally.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, no. So one of us has to set up a camera in the chicken coop.
Okay.
You can.
I might.
Okay.
All right. Anybody have anything that they want to discuss?
No, because Anissa has no favorite measurements, so
No.
that just went over really poorly last time.
I told Barry, I said, yeah, Mike and I started talking about like what measurements are good and what measurements are bad. He goes like you mean 3/16 is good? And I was like, yeah, Anissa didn't take it and run with it. He goes,
No.
that's right up her alley.
Yeah.
No. No.
In fact, we
I can't
saved it
commit
for
to
you.
something like that. You saved it for me. When did this conversation
Like
start?
3 weeks ago.
Oh.
Yeah, we've been sitting on it.
That's one of those things you built up in your own minds to be this fantastic conversation.
Distinctly possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Distinctly possible. All right. Well, let's answer some podcast questions. Let's see. This first.
You're not going to believe this.
You don't have the right script. All right.
I'll wing it.
We're
I'm
just
prepared.
knocking them out today.
Yeah.
All right. This first question is from Fabian. Oh my goodness.
You did it too.
No, I went to podcast 182. Wow.
Oh, thank you.
All right. This first question, we might edit that out.
Oh, no, this is the right one. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing.
This first question, there's editing happening here. All right. All right. This first question is from Harry. Hey, Jeff. How can I prevent camellia oil from becoming all gummy? After letting a plane set for a few weeks that I wiped down with camellia oil, it was next to impossible to get the plane apart. I actually caused some minor damage. It was stuck so hard. And I thought Harry was crazy.
Vitamin E is an antioxidant that keeps camellia oil from basically oxidizing and getting sticky.
What?
Yeah.
So add a little vitamin E oil to your camellia oil?
Yep. And number 2, wipe it down, but then wipe it off. Don't leave a big old, that's too bad.
Glob.
Yeah.
You use camellia oil.
I do, but I've never come across that.
Do you use it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I've never seen you use it. Okay.
Yep. You got a little thing, that applicator with that little square brush thing on the top and the red cap that comes off.
Those are awesome, and you can only get them from like Japan Woodworking or something
I
like
think so.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like a little wick container.
Mm-hmm.
It wicks the oil up, and it just puts a very, very light.
Really, really thin, and I still wipe it off. Yeah.
You wipe it off.
Yep.
Do you wipe it off? Oh, okay.
Basically, especially if you're sharpening, I use it with the idea of just displacing any water that happens to still be on there after I wiped it down. And that usually works pretty well.
So I went digging on the internet and thought that woodworking forums were an opinionated place until I came across straight razor forums.
Oh.
Yes, they're straight razor forums.
Are you saying they're more opinionated?
They're really into it.
Cool.
We'll say that. And there was like pages upon pages of posts about camellia oil on straight razors being the absolute worst thing you could possibly do. And what do you do to get it off? People just going crazy. And I mean, wow. A for enthusiasm, we'll say.
Interesting. Is there opinion on like the traditional straight razor you have to sharpen versus the disposable blades?
Oh.
Well, okay, so I shouldn't have been shocked that straight razor forums were so crazy. And maybe this is one reason why Barry and I get along so well, because we have both frequented badgerandblade.com, which is a double-edged razor forum.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, but it hadn't been for a long time, and I don't do it anymore, man. But camellia oil in this world, I guess people are storing their razors. These people must have huge collections, storing their razors for months on end with a heavy coat of camellia oil. And the problem that they get into is anything that will take the camellia oil residue off will affect the scales, be they plastic scales or wooden scales or whatever, the sides, the handles of the straight razor. So I emailed Raleigh, because that's what I do whenever I don't know an answer to almost anything.
Even if Raleigh doesn't have an answer, he will give you an answer.
He'll give you an answer and it'll be funny.
Yes, and actually probably accurate even if he didn't know it.
Yeah. But he said that anytime you've got camellia oil that's gummed up, it's because you don't wipe off the excess like you two do. But a quick wipe with naphtha or acetone should clean it off. And this is an interesting point. Those solvents are essential because they are fully volatile and won't leave any oily residue, which mineral spirits will. So I've never thought of solvents as fully volatile.
That makes sense. Huh. I didn't know naphtha was because it's so stinky. I just thought it was sort of a variant on mineral spirits. I guess it's a different thing.
I've never used naphtha much.
Oh, it is stinky.
Yeah. What's the point of naphtha as opposed to?
I guess it is a quicker drying solvent.
And can you use it as a thinner?
I think I'm going to say yes, but I think I tried it. What'd I do? Oh, you know how I usually, I dip steel wool or a rag in mineral spirits and then in wax. And I thought naphtha. I think I tried it with naphtha, thinking, well, it's going to cause the wax to dry quicker, and I think it just fired off before I could even get it on. I think that's what the problem was, and I think that's what the solvent was.
Okay.
So it didn't work in that particular instance. Usually it's good for degreasing stuff.
Okay. And it's fully volatile, so there you go. Seems to be important. All right. Anything to add?
No.
Okay. Question number 2. I'm all over the place on this one. All right. Question number 2 from Mike. This is one of those awesome problems to have. In a couple of months, I will be building a house and I will be putting my shop in the basement. Currently, I have a small shop, but in my new shop, I'll have 25 by 35 feet. Since I have this rare opportunity, I want to put power in the floor and dust collection in the floor. Therefore, I have to decide where to put my tools, and I will not be able to move them. Are there general guidelines on placement of tools? How far should the table saw be away from the wall? What about the bandsaw? How far from the wall? On what side? Same question for router, table joiner, thickness planer. 25 by 35 is a really nice size.
I didn't read the part that it was a basement. I would be concerned about clearance. How high is the ceiling in the basement?
That's a good question. I thought about that too.
If you're getting dust collection underneath the floor, you're raising the floor probably 10 inches. We have at least a 6-inch duct, but then you've got the thickness. Is there any insulation in there or not?
Well, they're building it, so I would assume you can specify how tall you want your basement to be, and it's just if he's doing all of this before the slab pour. What do you think, Jeff?
I don't think you want to bury anything in the slab, not like electrical or dust. I think you need a raised wooden floor with a space underneath it. That's how it's done.
Okay, so that would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of there are guidelines for where machines work best in terms of placement, but the thing that's going to work best is for you to get your shop set up and to the point where it's working really well for you. And if you're not quite sure where that is, I know it could be a pain now, but I think in the long run it's going to help you out is just get your shop set up, get the machines where you want them. Just, whatever, get some portable dust collection, get your electrical, extension cords or something, and just use the shop until you get everything in a spot that you really like it, and maybe use that as your starting point for dust collection and electrical outlets, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still tweaking things now.
Yeah. How long have you been in your shop?
I started building it probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I've been in it for a while, different stages of shellness, there still isn't trim around the windows. Light bulbs are just hanging from the ceiling kind of stuff, but I still use it. In the beginning, it was more for house stuff than it is for woodworking, and I'm pretty close to being completely done. One thing that I would definitely want 8 feet behind and 8 feet in front of the table saw. Sorry.
For basic minimum clearance for sheet goods.
For sheet goods, yeah. And at one point I had my table saw angled so I could get that a little more comfortably.
Right.
I'm angling my table saw right now, and so I had it set up where I thought I wanted it to be, and then it was if I angle it, I get a little bit more clearance before I have to open up the door.
Yeah.
Because my table saw almost butts up against my carriage doors. So if I need a lot of outfeed space, I can just open up the carriage doors. I thought if I angle it, I can do that less. And my wife came in and she was like, "What's going on with the table saw?" I was like, "Yeah, I know, it's driving me nuts too."
Mine is straight now. Same thing happened to me.
And like Chris Gochner's workbench is normally angled. But like anytime something's angled or not perpendicular to a wall, it kind of drives me nuts.
Yeah.
And whenever I go into a shop and the table saw is angled or something, it tears me up a little bit. But I fully understand it. It is angled right now. I'm trying to see if I can get past it. But
let me know how that works out. I'll be curious. Yeah. Yeah, mine was angled, and I can still do it. I can still get an 8-foot piece of something behind there, just not as comfortably. But also, most of the machine manufacturers have software layout for your shop, too, that you can kind of virtually arrange your shop.
Yeah, Grizzly has a really intuitive one. Yeah. I did a SketchUp, and I really like SketchUp. And I, went nuts and did the
And you can download all the machines into SketchUp,
yeah,
right?
and I downloaded all the machines. I would probably laugh my head off if I looked at my SketchUp for my shop right now as to what it actually turned out to be, because I thought I had it all laid out exactly how it would best work. And once you start putting machinery in there, it all goes to hell in a handbasket.
It's hard.
That would be an interesting. I'd like to see that too. How it's different.
One thing that I have discovered is certain machines have like a no-go zone.
Oh yeah.
There's no, like, the spine of your bandsaw, that's wasted space.
Yeah, so anything to the left of your bandsaw may as well be up against a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So put that up against a wall, or if you have a lolly column or something that would be in the middle of your shop, a column or some overhead thing, try and work that into the layout of your machines where that wasted space is wasted regardless. Yep. I have the spine of my bandsaw up against a column, and that column doesn't bother me nearly as much as it did before I put the bandsaw there.
Drill press is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Chop saw.
You have like an island.
Router table. All those things, right? Pretty much. I have a what?
You have like an island.
Yeah, I do.
Do you like that, or is it out of necessity?
Both.
So you have your table saw, planer, joiner, all in one smushed together.
Yeah, I've got my table saw with a side feed table. I have basically a workbench style outfeed table, so that creates a big L. And so sort of in that inside corner of the L, I have my dust collector there. I have my 8-inch joiner. Basically, it's sort of creates a U, so it's sort of, parallel to the outfeed table on the other side. And then I have my planer tucked in between my outfeed table and my jointer going like across my outfeed table. So they kind of overlap, but because of the different heights, all my clearances are good. So yeah, I have my table saw, outfeed table, side table, joiner, planer, all in sort of a big island, which gives me minimum kind of a comfortable 3-foot perimeter on two sides. And then where my workbench is, I probably have 4 feet. And then I probably, at least 4 feet around the other. So it's basically like a big donut of varying thicknesses of walkways. And that works out well. For a really small shop, I think that's okay.
Do you ever have to move, other than when Jeff and I come over with video cameras, do you ever have to move the planer in order to cut a sheet of plywood? Or you don't do plywood in your shop much, do you?
When I do, I throw it on top of my outfeed table and just break it down with my circ saw and an edge guide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I barely have that 8 feet clearance on the in-feed side of my table saw. I think I gave up on it. And if I, like, when do you actually need to rip? Because most sheet goods I can break down. Other than that, I'm never ripping an 8-foot long board. What is that? That's too long. Maybe a 7-foot tabletop might be about as big as they go.
Yeah, I mean, other than plywood for home rehab purposes, I can't think of a...
Yeah. And
What
even
time
then, I
that
can probably bite the bullet and get out my circ saw and rip it if I have to.
Yeah. Like, contractors are laughing at us right now. Because...
Well, go make a piece of furniture, my friend.
How do you get your plywood home? Or are you having it delivered to your shop?
I haven't done any plywood work since our shop closed up and we got rid of our panel saw, which we should have gotten rid of because that's an awesome thing.
I agree.
I would just have it shipped to the shop, break it all down, and then you can take it home.
Right.
You could like bust down an entire kitchen's worth of sheet goods in a Saturday afternoon, literally.
I know. Yeah.
I've just always had a bad taste in my mouth for panel saws. I worked in a hardware store, and we had a horrible panel saw.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count. Yeah.
How do you have a truck? No, you don't.
No.
Did you do it in your van?
No, because the Volkswagen has cabinets in the back. I can't get a 4-foot sheet across.
You do it
so
in
I
a
have to break it down.
Minivan.
Do a minivan. I just put some up on my kayak racks of my little Subaru Impreza. I got 8-foot stuff up there.
Really?
You
the other
did?
day. Yeah.
All right.
4x8
Yeah.
That
with
all
just
right.
ratchet straps.
There's a variety of things. Actually, it was 2 sheets of Luan plywood, which are really flimsy.
Yeah, that's
But
almost
then I
harder.
also bought some of the pink rigid insulation because I was doing packing crate. And so I put the rigid insulation down first and then the Luan on top. Then I did just the straps. And then I got the shrink wrap stuff and I wrapped the ends to keep them from flapping around.
And then you did this while you drove?
Yeah, so
This.
one end at the window. Yeah.
Just to make sure it's still there.
I used to have a Jeep, and I would do that, and in my head it was like I would feel it flexing in the breeze and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, why am I even holding on
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
this?
it's
Because
the
what am
placebo
I going to
effect.
do?
Yeah.
Like, am I go? Oh, there it goes. I just stopped that crisis from happening. No, I don't know. So I am without pickup truck now, and I other than borrowing my brother and my father's pickup truck, I don't know.
I usually try and get a measurement if I'm buying it somewhere, and I have just close to 4 feet in the van, even diagonally. So I'll break it down as much as I can there, just like one cut on the panel saw,
Yeah,
if I'm not having it delivered.
and you have them oversized that cut, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I've seen people talking about, I wish I had them cut it down. And I was like, no. But all right, well, let's see. Should we talk about our all-time favorite techniques of all time for this week?
Sure.
Mike, you averted answering one last time.
I was just this week down in Raleigh, North Carolina, working with a friend of mine building a piece of furniture. So it was a little bit different style than I normally work in, a little fancier. And we were doing these framing panel doors with these sort of arched panels at the top. And we wanted to line the inside of the door panels with some thin ebony stringing. And so then it's like, well, how do you clamp that stuff in place? There was a raised panel, so we had to figure out a way to get some clamping pressure right at the base of this thin stringing. So we ended up using the kind of bendy stick technique. So we had sticks maybe 1/8 of an inch thick by 1 inch wide. It cut slightly long, so you had to bow it to fit into the panel and it would just basically push the little ebony beading into the frame, give it like really, really low clamping pressure.
So like luthiers do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are those things called? There's a name for them.
There's like a weird name for them. Yeah. Tom knows. Because he said it one time, and I was like, no, that's not what they call it. And I looked it up, and it absolutely was what they call it. We'll find it.
So that was really cool. It's one of those things where, just glue it in. Well, how do you clamp it? Not with the clamp.
Yeah.
What else? Bendy stick. Bam.
Yeah, because you can't get a spring clamp in.
Yeah.
You can't get, yeah. Bendy sticks it is.
And then we quickly realized you couldn't do all 4 sides at once because the sticks would kind of overlap. It's like, no, how about we glue just 2 in at a time? Okay, and that worked out well.
Now, if he had a cordless pin nailer, you could just...
I had thought about that, but...
No, couldn't bring it.
I don't know. On my own piece, maybe.
Yeah.
Someone else's piece, you got to kind of pretend you know what you're doing.
Okay. So. Anissa?
Hi.
Hi.
This kind of straddles design / technique. So I was recently looking at a box article we did with Laura Mays, and the boxes are very understated in design, and it's just all the little details that make them so beautiful. And she had this technique for kind of notching. The shelf sits on a little bit of or the lid sits on a little bit of a shelf, but the sides of the box are kind of notched out, and then she has the handles mortised into the top. And it's just a cool way of, design-wise, it looks really beautiful, but also it just kind of locates that top and sets it right in, and just kind of want to, just looking at the photographs of it, you wanted to just pick it up and lift it up and check out the fit. So it's more of a design tweak than an actual technique, but I think it's kind of combined.
So are the handles mortised into
the lid?
Into the sides of the edges of the lid. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Opposite each other.
Okay.
It's really good. So did you use that technique?
That was on the front cover, right?
Was that on the?
Yes.
Was that a cover? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did not use it, but I actually really want to soon.
Oh.
So it's kind of not quite the answer to the all-time favorite technique, but very intriguing. So, and they're really beautiful. And I think you could really change the design and make it your own and still use that little notch and handle in there.
And there was 2 handles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one on each side. Cool. Well,
Ben?
My all-time favorite technique, as we know from the last episode, kind of blew up in my face. But it was, I believe I saw a long, long time ago on which this is going to be my recommendation too, Stu Mac, the Lutherie Supply.
Yeah.
They have the best YouTube channels in the world.
Mm.
Their YouTube channel is fantastic. It's all guitar Lutherie stuff, but all of that stuff applies to woodworking.
Oh, yes. Yep.
I mean, there's so much to be learned from luthiers. And Mark Spagnuolo recently did a video bringing this technique back up, and it must have stuck in my head again this time. But instead of using double stick tape, you just put 2 layers. You put a layer of blue tape down on one part. You put a layer of blue tape on the part that's going to get stuck to it.
Okay.
And super glue it in between.
Okay.
So then you can just peel the tape off, and there you go. So if you don't have double stick tape, that's a good workaround.
Kind of like a paper joint.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of variation of that. Cool.
So I don't think it's a replacement for double stick tape because I love double stick tape. But what I was doing, I was making this little sharpening station, and I put a layer of blue tape down, and instead of putting blue tape on the opposing part, I was making templates to route out of 1/4-inch hardboard. I just super glued those to the double stick tape. Yeah. Directly to it. Routed, all hell broke loose because the bit. Yes. But other than that, it would have been fine.
Episode 183.
Yeah. Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. But you're just able to just glue the hardboard right to what you're doing and then peel it up, and no one is any wiser.
Cool. I have a technique.
Double down.
Yeah, I know.
He's making up for me.
We were also laying out lots of really subtle curves, and so it's the old trick where you get a long steel rule and you just clamp it in a pipe clamp or a big long bar clamp or something, and you can adjust the amount of curve by how much you're tightening or loosening the jaws to create that curve. And it gives you a really fair curve. It also gives you tremendous control over the amount of curve, which is really tough to do on really big, really gradual curves. So
And where did you see that technique?
Oldie but goodie.
Oh.
I posted it on Instagram a long time ago. I did.
Because Bexford recently posted
I
that.
know. I posted it like way before Chris.
Oh, I'm going to go digging.
It's because Chris has only been on Instagram for 2 weeks.
It doesn't matter. I was there first. That means I invented it.
I forget, in that 2 weeks, who did he follow first?
It's the law of Instagram.
He followed you first, Ben. I had to ask him to follow me.
So now I have another technique. A take on that is, I'm blanking on the name. Tim Coleman. I kept filling it in Rousseau.
Yeah, I know. That's tough.
I've been watching it while doing video. Tim Coleman makes the little bendy bows or whatever, and with string like everyone has, or Lee Valley sells the ones with the little strapping. But his have a turnbuckle, so you can dial that in perfectly as well.
That's cool.
Turnbuckle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm going to say that's good too.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah. What's your riff on that one?
Ain't got one.
Damn. Fine. All right. Well, when we come back, hopefully Anissa will have a good answer for that.
Okay.
2019 Fine Woodworking Live presenters: Chris Bexford, Matt Bickford, Brian Boggs, Danielle Rose Bird, Michael Fortune, Peter Galbert, Chris Gochner, Garrett Hack, Nancy Hiller, Beth Ireland, Raleigh Johnson, Joshua Klein, Steve Latta, Tom McLaughlin, Mike Pekovich, Chris Schwartz, and Bob Van Dyke. I don't know what else to say. FineWoodworkingLive.com. All right, question number 3 is from Chris. Do those of you with kids suffer like
yes. I'm just kidding.
Suffer like I do with a never-ending queue of fix-it items that are piled on the workbench and taking precedence over projects? It's fun to hack together solutions for beloved toys and seeing the delay on their face when it works, but it sucks up most of my limited shop time. Any tips on quick fixes, or do I just need to wait this period out until they are teenagers?
I had 2 options for that. One, I would have them come into the shop with me and help fix it.
Yeah.
So that's cool. The other thing, however, in my office, I have one drawer known as the broken toy graveyard, where my kids would say, "Oh, my stupid McDonald's Happy Meal toy broke. Can you fix it?" "Yeah, I'll take it into work and fix it." Boom, went in the drawer. Never came back out.
So you don't leave it in the house so that they can find it one day.
And one time, years later, my daughter came to visit my shop and opened up the drawer in my desk. Here they all are.
Aww.
You didn't fix any of them. I said, I'm still getting to it. Okay. So, yeah. No. So, yes, both. Bring them in, help them fix it. It's, dad-kid time or parent-kid time. That's awesome. Or say you're going to fix it, bring it somewhere else, and don't ever address it again unless they bring it up and ask where it's at.
So I'm big on bringing the kid out to the shop. And one thing is, so he's become obsessed with Pinewood Derby cars, even though he's not old enough to race them yet. But we've just been buying Pinewood Derby kits, and he has a little book, and he looks for patterns.
Nice.
And so we cut him out, and then I set him up at the bench with a sanding block, and it's like shop time because he's in there just going crazy sanding this thing for half an hour, way more time than any one of us would spend hand sanding anything probably. And I'm able to work. Yeah. And it's awesome, time where, we're talking or whatever. And
yes, because God forbid you spend any time with your child that doesn't involve you trying to get some woodworking in at the same time. That's speaking for myself.
Ouch, Mike. That stung.
that was directed at myself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the thing. They do love watching you repair their stuff. They're almost more excited when you fix something than when they first get it. Yeah. And that's cool.
I love that my son, like there was one time there was a toy, wooden train track or something like that. And we were at a library or something. He said, "Hey, can we make this?" Mm-hmm. He didn't ask if we could buy it. He asked if we can make it. And I was like, yes, well, I'll spend the rest of my days making that thing now. We don't fix a whole lot of stuff. We wind up, I'll run out and fix it real quick if I can. I'll slap some glue on it or whatever. We don't fix stuff together, but we do make stuff a lot. The other night, he had declared, it's the 100th day of school. I have to dress up like a 100-year-old. We're talking about it at dinner, and this apple doesn't fall far from the tree. This kid doesn't like to participate in anything. And we said, you're supposed to dress up. And he goes, no, I don't want to do that. It's stupid. I was like, really? He's like, no, it's dumb. I don't want to do it. I was like, all right, well, I can't argue with you. But then right at the last minute, he goes, well, he's going to bed. He goes, you know what? Maybe, Dad, you can make me a cane, and maybe Mom can make me a beard.
The night before?
The night before. And it was like, come on, man. And it was one of those instances where I hadn't had shop time in a while, and like I go out, I cut up a 2x4, and I'm turning, and I've got just angry turning. But I made a cane, and I come in, and Katie's making a beard. And he's the only person the next day who I'm sure had a hand-turned cane and a beard with a backing of hand-woven fabric. And he has no idea. But that was one where I was like, all day I was looking forward to getting in the shop. And then right at the last minute, I was like, nope, you don't get to do anything fun. But it was worth it. And I guess I can't complain that much.
No, you can't.
You're like a superhero when you fix their toys.
Yeah.
So I think more disturbing to me is all the people who want me to repair their furniture that broke in their homes. You know how to do this? Can you fix my chair? Or can you refinish my dresser? No, you see my house, right? I don't have time to do my own stuff.
Yeah, we have 5 chairs in my dining room, and I can't sit in 3 of them.
Right.
I don't have time to fix your stuff. I can't do mine.
It's like everybody's your friend when you have a pickup truck and they're moving, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know how to fix things. Right. You know how to repair or refinish.
Or you have a pickup truck and they need plywood.
Right.
All right. This one I am pretty excited about. Question number 4 from Jim. I recently upgraded table saws with a killer deal on a Delta Unisaw with a Unifence. Unifence. Sounds familiar. I'm used to a Biesemeyer fence, and I have a number of jigs utilizing the parallel faces of the fence, such as an L fence. I do not think I can use these jigs on the Unifence because it lacks the parallel faces necessary to track or clamp the jigs to. Any ideas on Unifence modification or other tricks to increase the utility of the Unifence?
Drill holes in it.
I have a Unifence with a couple of holes drilled in it. They didn't come that way from the factory, Mike?
They did not.
Man.
And I think Matt Kinney still couldn't bring himself to drill holes in his Unifence. Yeah. But yeah, so like that tall flange, just drill a couple holes in it. Actually, it makes it much easier to attach auxiliary fences to the face of it than the Biesemeyer fence, where you somehow have to kind of get it clamped to the other side. You just like fire some screws through that thin extrusion into whatever auxiliary fence you have, and it works really well. I lived with that for years and years and years. So I didn't have the same issue about having to go from a Biesemeyer fence to that. That said, I did like it. Now that I have a Biesemeyer, if I had the option to change it to a Unifence, would I? Nah, because I've built all the jigs for it that you build once you have one. So I don't know, either get used to it. Yeah, I'm not saying that in a mean sort of way. Take the time to get used to it, see if you can figure out how to use it. And if you can't, just go buy a Biesemeyer fence. They're not that expensive.
You really don't miss the functionality of the sliding fence? Because there are times that I use it, I'm just like, man, I love this Unifence. I don't, being able to slide that fence halfway back.
Yeah, that's a cool
to
thing.
use as a stop with a miter gauge. I guess that's really the big one, but
Yeah, so I finally got around to making a block, which is exactly an inch thick, clamp it on my fence and just sort of do the math when I set my rip fence. So,
well, I mean, the other night, I'm not meaning to argue that your fence is not as good as mine, but it's not. The other night I was making just a simple little box, wanted to cut them to length. I had 2 wide pieces, set the rip fence, ripped them to width. This is plywood, ripped them to width. Then I had little short pieces that I could not register up against the rip fence.
right.
I pull the unifence back,
Yeah.
put the miter gauge in, boom, perfectly the same size because the fence never moved.
Right.
It is one of those things that when you see how a unifence functions, it really makes you wonder, like, why is this not standard on all saws
Yeah.
or something similar?
Yeah. And it's like one of those things where whenever I'm forced to change computer programs, layout programs, illustration programs, the first thing when I'm working a new program, it's always like, how do I get this program to do what this one did?
Yeah.
And when it can't, then you just say, well, this is really dumb, until you realize, no, it's a different thought process.
Yeah.
To where, no, once you get into this, you won't want to or need to have to do that anymore. So it's a different thing. It isn't, how do I make this work exactly like a Biesmeyer fence? You won't, but it has its advantages, and you can certainly make it work for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I cut off half that fence and gave you that short stubby thing for when you wanted to do that. Because like with a really, really long fence, when you slide it all the way back towards you to give you clearance, it's really heavy. And when you loosen up the rip fence handle, it tends to want to tilt down.
Yeah.
So,
and also, with the way you had your shop laid out, you probably wouldn't be able to walk around it.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have nothing to add. I've never used a unisaw.
A unisaw at all?
No,
Or
no,
unifence?
the fence,
Yeah.
the unifence, sorry.
Well, this is the weird thing. Was this morning I get into work, I log on to my email, and I have an email from Dean Hedstrom, and I don't even know really why he sent this to me, but he sent me an email. Like, this is in reference to nothing. And he goes, Ben, I've owned my Delta Unisaw since the 80s, blah, blah, blah. And he sends me a link to Peachtree
Yeah, I know.
makes...
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Huh.
Sure, it's fine.
Peachtree makes a replacement unifence
Yeah,
fence.
yeah,
That's aluminum extrusion
yep,
with T slots
yes.
and UHMW
Yes,
face.
right. Before you buy one,
Because I almost immediately bought it.
go to a woodworking show where they always are set up and look at it and see if you want to buy it.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying there's concept and then there's execution. They may not be equal.
Okay.
Do they advertise with us?
I don't think anymore.
Okay.
They make great stuff, but maybe this one's not to Mike's liking.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, whether it's the Unifence or a Biesmeyer style fence, both of them are light years ahead of the traditional fence that shipped with your Unisaw for years and years, which was called the jet lock fence. And it would clamp both at the front rail and also at the back rail, but never parallel to the blade unless you measured at the front and the back to its parallel. But wait, is it exactly what I want my rip cut to be? No. So then you have to move it over, re-parallel it. And it basically every rip fence change took probably a minimum of 5 minutes. And it was like horrible. So, I mean, it really made using a table saw pretty tedious. So either one, the Biesmeyer or the Unifence, are just like anything you can move, clamp, and trust that it's going to be parallel to your blade. That's money.
The thing that I'm having a hard time with the Unifence is moving it a 32nd of an inch. You know, the tap, that little, you know, you unlock it, tap it. I always seem to, when I go to lock it again, it's not fully seated in the fence rail.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have an adjustment off. One of these days you need to come over and just look at it and be like, no, that's the way it functions, or no, you've got this on wrong or something like that. But,
Could be.
Yeah, it's a little finicky to adjust. Your rip.
Huh. Okay. Yeah.
Size.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
This is
Well,
not
thanks
good.
for bursting that bubble. I was really
Which
psyched
one?
about
He
that.
burst about 6 different of your 6 Ben bubbles just now.
It's not necessarily burst. I'm just saying, see if you can take a look at it in person
Okay.
and sight down it. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, that said, if you bought a fence and someone sends it to you and it's not straight, you send that fence back.
Yeah, I'm not saying this one's not straight, though. I'm
Okay.
just saying, take a look at it if you can.
All right. Well, Anissa,
Hi.
all right. Is there anything?
Recommendation?
Well,
or
there's that-
do I want
you
to
know
add
what?
something to the Unifence
Yeah,
conversation?
and you had already said that you have nothing to add to the Unifence.
I've just never used one.
This is a little sidebar conversation, though, that I have thought about before, is what is
Ruh-roh.
one aspect of a tool that you wish applied to all tools? I, until now, thought the Unifence, but I'm willing to admit that there's Biesemeyer's or regular old fence is good too.
All right.
Anytime I see somebody use a Powermatic table saw and see how fast the blade height adjustment action moves, that's one thing. It's like, oh man.
Is that a good thing, though?
And I've wondered that as well.
I think you can get used to it. It's like you learn your saw, all the adjustments, height adjustments, all that. Like you said, you learn how exactly where and how hard to tap your rip fence to get it over 100.
Yeah.
Couple thou. Yeah. And how to read that little gauge, the indicator on the rip fence, whether it's magnified or not, whether it's a big fat red stripe or it's jammed with sawdust. It's like you just kind of learn your machine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's a honeymoon period with any machine, I guess.
Yeah.
So the way they work aside, if you had to choose a color for any, all the machines have their color, all the manufacturers have their color. This is just about the color. It's not about the manufacturer or the way the machines work.
Are you asking us our favorite machinery color?
Yeah.
Well,
Ben's frustrated.
I'm frustrated and I really want to answer this as
Well,
honestly. But
So again, this
it was
has
the
no-
last podcast that you said that you're not allowed to ask you your favorite color.
in general, for a specific situation like that, I'm
Powermatic
okay.
green, like the old school Powermatic green,
Yeah.
that's a good color. But Delta gray,
Delta gray is classic. It's got to be the right vintage gray. It can't be that darker blue gray. That's like, ugh.
yeah.
Every
yeah.
tool you have is going to be this color.
You know what? And this harks back to the last podcast too, I think. I really like when Grizzly makes the black and orange, like the polar bear models or whatever. Like they had my bandsaw, they had it in black and orange.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, that's a good color combination. It was a good orange. But like the sticker was just too big and I couldn't handle it. What's yours?
I go last.
Well, Mike and I have avoided the question long enough.
I like the Powermatic Gold.
Yeah.
It's classic.
Yeah.
It's a good color. I'd have to go with like the vintage Delta gray. I have, the Unisaw's black and red. It's okay. It's a good paint job.
So I'll stop.
What did I
It's
say?
black and gray.
Yeah,
right?
saw
Black
some.
and red.
Black and red,
that's
sorry.
what I'm talking about.
And then I have the Grizzly bandsaw, which is that kind of almost off-white, gray, white, and green.
That might be my least favorite.
It's a nice combo.
It's
tasteful.
good.
It's just the
I love their
Powermatic.
machines.
But like for me, I mean, the colors are so tied into the brand that it's like, are you
That's
saying, do
true.
you want all Powermatic?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but not a table saw. But definitely I would love a Powermatic, like a big old giant Powermatic bandsaw,
Yeah.
drill press, take a joiner, take a planer. Yeah.
I like the Raycon blue.
Yeah, that's good.
They must really think hard and long about colors, these tool manufacturers, because they're all kind of good.
What's your favorite hand power tool color?
Bosch.
The Bosch blue
Yeah.
with the little red
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard. I think it might be subconsciously, it might be DeWalt, because every time I went in to buy a tool with no expectation of what brand to get, I would always come away with a DeWalt tool. So maybe that yellow black is really classic.
The Festool green, like that, over the top, like that color in any other context would be bad. But man, they nail it.
But they only use it sparingly.
Yeah.
It's not.
But that's how you know it's a Festool. It's like that color. You can see it from across the room.
I want an invisible table saw, like the Wonder Woman plane from like the 70s cartoon, or not cartoon.
But how would you set your rip vents?
Just by. Damn you, Mike Pekovich.
Yeah, because that's the bad part of the invisible table saw.
Right. But remember, you could see her sitting in the air, and then just like the outline of the plane.
We need someone to Photoshop that for us. Anissa operating an invisible table saw.
Well, there wouldn't be just much Photoshopping involved. I would just be like this, and there would be nothing there.
We don't need the Photoshopping through space.
Yeah, board moving you would see the blade, right?
No, you just see the two pieces coming apart.
Yeah.
You can do this, Ben. Ben's thinking.
Can we get Bill?
No.
All right.
That poor guy. He's put enough leaves on trees and hard hats on workers and earmuffs on woodworkers.
The other day, somebody called us out on YouTube. Somebody was leaving a comment on Mike Farrington's video, and they said, "Oh, I was wondering if they had to class up your shop. The pictures really made it look really nice and everything." And somebody else said, "Yeah, I remember when they put a window in Jeff Miller's shop."
Oh, somebody who knew his shop knew that there wasn't a window there.
I replied as fine work. I was like, "We wouldn't do that. We totally did that.
We didn't put it in there. We moved it down.
Is that what happened?
From out of the camera into the camera. Yes. And we did it once. It's for the cover. So just shut up.
All right. Recommendations. Don't talk to Mike about putting a window in places.
Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Oh, bold move. Does it still hold up?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can imagine it would.
Yeah. Richard Bach. Right? Richard Bach?
I have no idea what any of this is.
Yeah.
Yeah? Of course Jeff knows Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
What is Jonathan Livingston Seagull?
It's a story of a seagull.
Mm-hmm. And so much more.
Yes, and not.
Yeah.
Guarantee you I'm not going to look this up.
Yeah.
I'll send you a link.
It's a very short book.
Okay.
Yeah. Roz would even like it, I think.
Yeah. I had my kids listening to it. That's the first record album I ever had.
Wow.
Jonathan Livingston Seagull on 33, right?
33 and third. Yep.
Yeah.
Trying to think what mine was. It's probably a Kids Incorporated album. Anybody remember that show? No?
Mm-mm.
All right. I don't have a recommendation. Do you have anything?
Yeah. Something I was using this last week. It's, those Bessie auto-adjust little toggle clamp things?
Yeah.
Well, this was mounted to like a black plate and a 5-inch long 3/4-inch post, which basically turned it into like a hold fast or hold down.
Yeah.
So you shove it in there, clamp it down. Oh, man. I want like 2 of those things.
Yeah. So Bessie sells it that way, right?
Yeah, I know you can. I saw it through the Lee Valley catalog, but it looked like all the components were Bessie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
I played with them at a hardware show one time. They were really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all for this episode of Shop Talk Live. If you have questions you'd like us to answer on the show, send them into shoptalk@taunton.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up button. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thanks for listening.
Oh, you know something we didn't say about the shop, too, your table saw, this is probably common sense, right? You don't want that facing... I like having my table saw facing the door so nobody can surprise me. That's the place where I don't want to be surprised. Of all my machines, don't surprise me on the table saw.
Yeah.
And also because stuff will kick back behind you, and somebody walking behind you, if you don't see them come in, can get nailed.
Mine happens to be facing the door. So I didn't do it because of that, but that is really important. That's really, really, I think it's something to consider.